Well, hello, you wonderful people. I'm Amy, or AWayfaringFrog, and welcome back to another episode of the career-inspired Sims 4 speed builds. So if you weren't aware, this series is where I take an item in the game, or an object, or something that your Sims could make money with, so a career as well, potentially, and then make a house inspired by that item that you can make money with. So, for example, you can make money doing just frog breeding in the base game. So I've made a frog breeder's house in the past, and this one we are doing a house inspired by the Seasons expansion pack flower arranging table. So you can sell the flowers that you make on there, the various bouquets and things. And I did do a poll on my channel a while back with a list of ideas asking for all of your opinions on what you'd like to see next on the channel. And I mean, I've actually had another, someone else has responded to the poll at this point, which means that the flower arranging actually isn't the next one that should be uploaded. But unfortunately, I built it before that person had responded to the poll, so I am sorry about that. I will be doing a Potion Master build fairly soon. I've already recorded it, so it's just a case of editing and uploading it. So that is on its way. But yes, we are doing the flower arranging one for now. When I first thought of the idea of doing a flower arranging house, I kind of expected to end up doing it in Henford-on-Bagley and making it very cottage living-y, but because I started a mini-series recently of creating small little fairy cottages, I felt like it was all too samey and I didn't want to do another cottagey build in that kind of style because I just felt like I was doing a lot of that already. So I ended up doing this in my favorite build style, which is Tudor, and built it on the quad manor, as you can see in the top left of the screen. It's kind of the area where there's a library, I think a bakery, and then I can't remember what the other building is. I did end up destroying the other buildings, so there will just be green spaces around, but right at the beginning of the video you might have noticed how the camera kept jumping up and down repeatedly, and it was so annoying, and it was just due to those other buildings. So I did just demolish those while I was building this, so the camera stayed a bit more still. I feel like that's the bane of every builder's life, just the camera not being normal, just jumping all of the time. But anyway, this felt like a bit more of a kind of commercial area rather than somewhere that you might put someone's house, just because it's in the middle of this like little quad area. So I thought that would be fun for a little florist's shop, but of course, using businesses and hobbies, I have created it so it's a house as well. But I really like the idea of having a nice big flower store where your Sims could come and maybe get a bouquet for their wedding, or just a bouquet to give to a friend or a significant other. So that was kind of the inspiration here, and I think it ends up coming out quite cute. I did use the roof style from the Life and Death expansion pack. I really love this roof texture, and the color was just so much fun. I usually go for very dark roofs, so mostly blacks or dark greys, but I've been trying to branch out recently and have been picking some more fun colors, and I just thought this green, kind of greeny yellow olivey tone was a really good choice, and it suited the build quite nicely. Again though, it did end up meaning that the exterior of the build was very green tone, and I feel like I have a bad habit of doing that. It doesn't help that it's one of my favorite colors, so I do just gravitate towards the green all of the time. But you'll see shortly that I end up adding in some of those kind of trellisy items that come from the Romantic Garden stuff pack, and due to that it's got some pink flowers in it, so I end up switching anything that's yellow on the exterior of the build to pink, just to bring in a bit more variation in the colours. I also have a little side door that is the entrance to the residential unit, and then the front door is just to the shop area. I also thought that this build could kind of be used as a park, so if you did want to download it and bring your Sims here, they could just potentially hang around in the nice gardeny area. We'll get to that last. I was a bit overwhelmed by the concept of decorating the entire garden for the shop for some reason, so that does end up being right at the end of the build. I decided to just decorate the house and the shop first. And there is a little back garden for the residential portion as well. It's just separated off with a different fence type, so you'll see that shortly, which is kind of setting up the back door area for it. And I also used these laundry day windows, which I thought were really pretty. They're not quite the right wood swatch to go with the colour that I've chosen from the Get Together expansion for the wallpaper and things, but I felt like they suited it well enough. I also used the brick on the lowest level from the new pack Businesses and Hobbies. It's so pretty. I really love that brick. I think it's become my favourite one. It's just kind of nice and uniform, but has enough of a texture to make it look interesting, whereas a lot of the other bricks, they look really odd to me. I don't know how to describe them, but they just seem a little bit funny, so I don't massively like using those ones, and they are often really intensely bright red, so I do prefer this option. And then because this lot is surrounded by pavement, I figured I'd try to blend it in, so I did go ahead and pick a pavement that suited the colour a bit better. And then for the pathways to the house and things, I ended up using this one from Realm of Magic. I really love that pavement. I think it's so pretty. So I thought it was a bit of fun to use here. I did also consider using kind of a hedge fence for the actual commercial part of the building, but I think I switch it out. I can't remember. Oh yes, I think I picked the one from Romantic Garden just because I know that that fence doesn't do anything when you've got seasons installed. It doesn't go darker when it gets to winter, which can be good because I suppose it is a bit annoying how all of the plant life just dies during certain seasons in this game. But it just looked a little bit strange. So like in winter when it's so intensely bright green, I think it just looks odd. So I figured that this more brick looking fence instead from Romantic Garden would suit a lot better. And then it has a closed gate, which I always think is important because Sims just love wandering over to your house to kick over your bin or something, and there's a glitch, I think it's still a thing, where if someone kicks over your bin you just can't pick it up, and it's so frustrating. So I always like to make sure that there's something in the way of random townies coming over to destroy my property. That's why I like having fences and cordoning it off from the general public. I did also make sure to leave a bit of a gap down the side of the house just because it felt realistic for there to be a pathway along that kind of canal area. So I didn't butt this lot right up to the edge because it just seemed really odd it being so close. I feel like these lots are a bit strangely placed in that regard. But I did want to keep plenty of greenery because of course it's a florist's, and I think it's just nicer to have your residential house with lots of lovely trees and greenery and things and make it look lush. So that is what I did here. But due to how structured it is, I think it still works in Windenburg, so hopefully you agree. I am now just starting the landscaping here, and it does take a while because there's so much of it, so I end up kind of cutting bits out and showing you a bit of the process, and then I'll jump to the next stage of the process because if you've ever watched any of my videos before, you'll know that I'll pick something, dot it around, then pick the next flowery or bushy item, and then dot that around and repeat. But if you did want to download this build at all, it is available on the Sims 4 gallery just under my EA ID, AWayfaringFrog. It's also under the hashtag AWayfaringFrog, and the information for all of that is in the description down below. You can also see the details on the type of lot, where to place it, and other such things. So feel free to check that out. But as I mentioned earlier, in order to try and avoid making this another green themed build, I have now started including a lot of plants that have blue and pink in them. So that's helped bring all of the colors together, and I really found that these hydrangea bushes have so many lovely colors. And then this is one of the things that took ages, so I didn't show you the entire process, but you can see that I'm adding in these little fairy lights. They come from the Little Campers kit, which is the kit for kind of outdoor toys and things for children, and they're just so cute. So I circled every little flower bed with those. I do also do it in the back garden of the commercial side of things as well. So they're everywhere, and it just looks so pretty at night when it's lit up. So I thought that was a lot of fun, and I don't use those very often, partly because just to help avoid lag, I almost feel like I need to try and reduce the number of items that I use, but I do also love using clutter. So putting these everywhere, I was a little bit worried. So if you don't have a super high-tech computer and you did want to download this build, you might want to delete a few things due to that, because there is a lot of stuff, even in the plant beds. I don't know much about the items that count towards, like a really large file that takes computers quite a bit of effort to load. I think it's more of the functional items. So like countertops and then the flower arranging table as another example, more than decor, but I'm not really sure how it works. So that would just be something to bear in mind. But as I mentioned, I got overwhelmed with the concept of decorating the outside initially. So now that I've done just the main structure and laid out where I want everything, we're now decorating the store. And I ended up using the Cozy Bistro wallpaper here. I think it's so pretty and it's got kind of a floral effect on it without being too in your face. So I did really like the use of that. And I used so much of both the Greenhouse Haven kit and the Blooming Rooms kit. So there are a few items like these blue shelves that I've got in right now. I think I end up changing the swatch of them a bit later. I was really undecided on the color scheme for a while. But if you put items on those, they don't get marked for sale. So I've included a lot of these little round pieces which come from Business and Hobbies, and when you put items on those, they'll automatically get marked for sale. You can turn that off if you want to, but it just means that the blue pieces are more for decoration, and then you can drag items onto the Businesses and Hobbies pieces when you want to actually sell them. I did also forget to put a door into the greenhouse for a while, so you'll notice that there's no way to access that. I do change it though, because I really wanted to include the big board that lets your Sims give lectures and things just in there. I will move things around a little bit so that there's space for a door a bit later, but for some reason I just completely forgot about doing that. You can technically access it from outside, but I just felt like routing for your Sims, it was just better to have an indoor area as well to access it. And I think now this is the final colour scheme. I used this really lovely rug from the High School Years expansion pack, and then switched the colours to kind of yellowy green. So yep, okay, I didn't quite escape the green colour scheme, but it is a florist's build, so I feel like I'm justified in using it here. And again, for when I did the frog build, frogs are green, so again, I can't be blamed for my love of the colour green and how much I use it. But we are now just adding in a lot of plants to the different shelves. I did just off camera grab a sim to make a load of floristy bouquet items. They didn't all fit onto these little shelves from Businesses and Hobbies though. They don't seem to fit onto the smallest or the lowest section of that 3-tiered display shelf. So I added the extra ones just into these green shelves from the Blooming Rooms kit. And as I mentioned, that means they're not marked for sale. But that also kind of worked out because it meant I could clutter it up loads. I always kind of felt like whenever I used Get to Work to try and make a build like this, it was really frustrating how the slots worked, because I always wanted to like clutter it up and make it look really realistic, but then your Sims wouldn't be able to buy anything from that section because of how cluttered it was. But the fact that you actually can't sell items through Businesses and Hobbies through certain shelf units and things, it kind of gives a good excuse to just be like, okay, well, that's unfortunate, but at least I can clutter this one up loads and not have to worry about using it to sell stuff. So I think that's actually kind of helpful in a way. That restriction sort of helped me think like, okay, well, I can't use it to sell stuff, so let's just go mad. There is also a plant store in York, which I love. Definitely recommend if you are from Yorkshire. It's called Inside Out, very near the train station. It's fantastic, and every time you walk in, it just feels like you've walked into a big rainforest or something. There's like a canopy of plants everywhere. It's so pretty, and the owner is so lovely. I've done terrarium making there before. It's a lot of fun. So yeah, if you are from the UK and you're nearby to York, or even just you go visiting York at some point, I really recommend checking that out. I'm not sponsored or anything. That would be amazing if I was, but I've just been there recently and I love it. So if you do like plants, really recommend. But the room is now coming together, as you can see. I just wanted it to kind of reflect that shop in York that I mentioned, where there's so much greenery flowing absolutely everywhere. So I did my best to incorporate all of that. It was a little bit difficult because, again, I didn't want to add too many items to the item count, and we only have so many kind of different types of plants, and I didn't want to prevent your Sims from being able to walk around. Again, in this shop that I mentioned, you can't easily access everything. You kind of have to like lean over stuff. It's absolutely packed. And that just doesn't work in The Sims because they all just complain that they can't get past rather than trying to scooch around it. So it's not too full, and this is fully play tested, so if you did want to download it, you don't have to worry about that. Everything works. I just had so much fun decorating this room, and I also included a little desk section with a computer. I always think it's useful to have a computer in every build, so I added that in here, and it felt realistic as well, so that your sim could work on their accounts and things, and that's where they keep their stock list and such. So I added that into the store. It does mean you might want to lock it though, because Sims just coming to visit the store will absolutely sit down and start using it. That happened to me while I was playtesting. It was really kind of annoying. So I don't know, you maybe want to move that PC or just make it a laptop instead so you can put it into your Sims inventory when you're not using it and then your guests can't use it. And then it's also around now that I remembered I didn't have an interior door into the greenhouse portion. So I moved some things around here. I don't think I showed all of it on camera, but I am now just adding some more plants and a little fake cash register, which is from Get to Work. It's not functional in this type of build. It does have to be a retail lot for it to be functional, but even then its functionality is fairly limited. I don't think it's functional anyway. I never tried clicking on it when I was playtesting, to be honest. But anyhow, you don't need it for businesses and hobbies. It's from a completely different pack, so it's kind of irrelevant, but I just thought it looked realistic, so I wanted to include that in. I do also remember that little base game phone that we got from an event recently, the I always call it the Back to the Future event because I can never remember the name of it. Blast from the Past. Okay, got it. So I add that in a bit later because again, it just felt really realistic to have a little phone in a shop and a build like this. So I go ahead and add that, and I'm just adding in the little ticket kiosk outside of the build as well, so you can charge people to come in if you want, or charge the amount of time that they spend here. Because it's a shop, I feel like it's not really something that makes sense to have, so I just added it because I guess it's still very new and it felt like it was useful so you can fully use the different aspects of businesses and hobbies. But I almost feel like if I did play in this myself, I'd probably delete that because the focus, I suppose, is having people pay for like a lecture for your sim to do or paying for the items. You don't really pay for your Sims to come into a store. So I don't know, I'll leave it up to you if you did want to download it, but I ended up adding the kiosk anyway just because it's just new and I was doing a build where I felt like, oh, I might need this. But we are now just doing the little greenhouse portion. I wanted to mostly include this for a space for your plants to all grow, but it seemed like a good opportunity to also add in this little board, as I mentioned earlier, so your sim can conduct lectures and stuff. That also helps make it a lot more functional for if you're just visiting the build rather than if you owned it, so your sim could come here and just take part in the lectures. And it should be functional for both gardening and also flower arranging. I did also playtest all of these little planter boxes, and I think I planted things in them, so the version on the gallery will have those plants. And again, they're mostly just flowers because it's a florist's build, so it felt like I just needed flowers so that your sim could make things without an additional cost. So again, I think if you have cottager living as well, and you've got the lot trait where you have to own the different items before you can create something with it. I've forgotten what it's called now, but I think that works for flower arranging as well. So you could potentially apply that lot trait if you wanted, or lot challenge I think it is. But I'm now just on the main residential portion of the house. You'll notice that the entryway is very decorated, but I didn't show it on camera. I just showed kind of the end of the decoration on camera, and that was partly just because it took me a weirdly long time to figure out how to decorate that, and it was just such a pain to edit, and I thought, okay, never mind, it's a small room anyway, so I cut pretty much all of it out. But you kind of get the vibe now. It's just like a little entryway with a place to hang your jacket and a little space to dump your keys and things. I used the new sleek bathroom kit little stone shelfie item. I don't really know what to call it, but that's just along the wall at the entryway. I think it's so good because it's really skinny so you can just butt it up to like really small sections next to doors and things, and it's a really nice feature to add some clutter on. So I love that new piece, that kit in general. To be fair, any content creator kit, I love them. I think they're fantastic. So definitely check them out if you haven't got them already. And now we're just in the back garden of the residential portion of the house. So again, as I mentioned, I'll get to the more commercial side of the garden later on. But I just included a few little things here and there. Just a barbecue, the bins, of course, as well as a little table for your Sims to come and sit. Because it's in such a community area as well, where Sims could technically like see into your garden from all angles. It just felt like I didn't really want a lot out here either, because I just felt like there wasn't a lot of privacy. I did use quite a tall fence. It's this white picket fence from, I think, one of the gardening stuff packs. Or not gardening, they're just like the backyard stuff pack it might be. And I think it's one of the tallest ones that doesn't look too modern. So I don't actually know. I think your Sims could still peer over it if they wanted to. But anyway, we've got limited options for that. So from a realism point of view, you might want to get a taller fence given where the house is situated. But otherwise, I think it worked out in The Sims. And we are now just popping upstairs into the residential part of the building, and I'm starting with the kitchen here. I thought these life and death counters worked really well, and I love this kind of deep greeny, almost teal swatch on the countertop. So I went ahead and included that. I also just really wanted to use tile because of how dark they were. So it's not something I commonly do. I usually just keep to the wooden flooring whenever I decorate a kitchen. But I used this one again from the Sleek Bathroom kit. It's just a good kit. Really recommend. And the backsplash is also from that same kit. I think it's such a lovely tile. And then I included some overhead counters, and because this fridge from the Growing Together expansion is one of the ones that's a little bit too tall to fit underneath the overhead cabinets, I added a bit of shelving into the corner. Sadly, I did decorate this before the kitchen clutter kit came out, so none of that features in this build, which is a little bit sad because I think it would have worked really nicely, but oh well, can't use it in every build. I do have a few builds coming out very shortly, well, the next couple of weeks, where they use those kits a lot, as in the kitchen clutter and also the garage kit. I forgot what it's called, the Restoration Workshop. I think they're really fun kits. I love how there's gameplay associated with the Restoration Workshop one too. I think that's fun, but not gameplay like just the bust. I mean, sorry, did I just say just the bust? I meant bust the dust. But I haven't actually played with the Restoration Workshop kit gameplay myself yet, so I don't know if it's glitchy at all. Hopefully not. From what I've seen, it works. It is just a little bit odd that you have to pay full price for a broken down fridge and then spend ages restoring it, and then it sells for exactly the same amount as what you bought it for. I don't really get that aspect of it, so I'm wondering why they did that. But anyway, we are now just cluttering up the kitchen using various items, not from the kitchen clutter kit sadly, but I think it still looks cute. This kind of overhanging plant from the Sleek Bathroom kit has become a favourite of mine. You might have noticed that I've used it a lot already. But I'm now decorating the living area, and I thought these sofas from Crystal Creations were perfect. I don't use them very often because I usually gravitate towards the like 3 wide sofas instead of these like smaller ones. But the colour of them matched with the countertops from the Life and Death expansion so perfectly. And because it's quite a squished space, it made sense to have some smaller sofas. And I just included some cushions from the Modern Luxe kit as well. I really love these ones. I think they're great. The base game ones, which came from the first ever event, and I think then they just added them in for everyone, I like those a lot, but the colours are a little bit iffy sometimes. There's just not enough to them, so I do like using the Modern Luxe ones in those cases, especially for this creamy colour with the gold accent. I think it just looks so nice and just adds a little bit more depth. Also the frame TV, that one's from the Secret Sanctuary kit, or the Bella Goth kit, whichever you prefer to call it, and because it's got a nice rose swatch, I felt like it was perfect for a florist, so I went ahead and included that. You might also notice that the rug from Growing Together has lots of flowery aspects to it too. I was really trying to bring in a lot of the florist look into this entire house, which again is the point of this series, so hopefully you appreciate that. I actually Originally, when I started this series, it was before Businesses and Hobbies came out, so honestly that was the perfect pack for this. But I was originally thinking I'll do tiny houses for The Sims and it would just only ever be one bedroom. You can see that that just went out of the window almost immediately, even before Businesses and Hobbies. I'm just so bad at doing tiny houses. I just like space. I do need to work on tiny houses a bit more though. A, because I think it's kind of fun, and B, sometimes I just don't have enough time to do a bigger house, so it would be really useful if I just didn't go nuts for once and actually stuck to the tiny house plan. I'm just adding in a little dining table. The table is from base game. It came in an update a few years ago now, and then the chairs are from that Secret Sanctuary kit, and they just tie in really nicely with Crystal Creations too. And just all of the other packs that I've been using in here, I think they combine nicely together. Just to bring in a bit more colour as well, so this room doesn't look so colour drenched, I did incorporate a few little splashes of purple and pink throughout, just with the flowers around. I do also make this upstairs area, which is kind of a more private flower arranging area. I make that very pink and purple instead. Again, just to mix up the colour scheme a bit. And also, there is a second bedroom in this house. Unlike what I said earlier, where I figured I'd make it just one bedroom, I do end up just including a space for an infant. Because there was an extra room, I didn't know what else to do with it. There was already enough flower arranging stuff, and even though that's the theme of the build, I felt like I can't go around adding even more in. So it just kind of made sense to create a little space for an infant here. And into the downstairs bathroom, or sorry, the main bathroom, it is using a lot of the sleek bathroom kit. I also didn't show the other one on camera, the one that's down in the shop. It uses different assets, I think. I can't quite remember now, but it was just small. It was just a toilet and sink situation. But there is one down for the customers of the store, so they don't have to come up here if you don't want them to. And I wouldn't recommend them letting them into your actual Sims house, because they will probably just use the TV all the time and probably try and sleep in your bed too, because Sims are an absolute nightmare. Oh, I did also decide it might be nice to have a pet in here, so I figured a dog would be a nice little pet. I didn't include the items that you need for a cat, so there's no cat litter tray, so you would have to add that in if you wanted your Sim to have a cat here. But we are now in the bedroom, and it's quite a big room. I liked that about it though. I included another desk as well with a computer for your Sims, and I used this bed from high school years, which has a very floral swatch to it, and combined that with the Lovestruck wallpaper behind it, and it just looked really pretty. And then this little shell-shaped armchair kind of reminded me of petals, so it felt very flowery as well, so I thought that was a good accent chair. And as you can see, it's very green and yellow in this room. I just can't escape that colour scheme. They're my favourite colours. It keeps happening. But hopefully it's not too samey to the other builds I've been doing. Which, by the way, if you are enjoying the video, be sure to hit that like button. It really does help the channel. Subscribe if you haven't already, and be sure to enable notifications so you'll know when I next upload a video. I always upload every Sunday at 5 p.m. British summertime at the moment, usually Greenwich Mean Time, but clocks went forward and all of that fun stuff. So the times are a little bit different at the moment. And I also upload shorts every Monday at the same time. I do sometimes upload ad hoc videos like a let's play or a smaller build like a starter home. Kind of rarely, but that might sometimes happen. I haven't been having that much time recently to be able to do that because I'm going to Japan for 2 weeks at the beginning of June. So I'm just trying to backlog enough videos to be able to release them at my usual times for while I'm away. So that has been what I've been up to, which is why there have been no real ad hoc videos lately. But I do want to get back into doing it. I'm really desperate to play with some gameplay due to some of the new packs coming out, like Businesses and Hobbies. I haven't really played with it. And then that Restoration Workshop kit looks kind of fun for gameplay. But yeah, I just haven't found any time, not even for my own personal save file, never mind for doing a video on it. But anyhow, we are now upstairs after decorating the bedroom, and we're just doing that like pinky purple flower arranging space that I mentioned. And originally I was thinking I might include a bit of a reading nook in this little 2x2 section, but eventually I thought maybe I'll just make another bedroom and have this as a second bathroom. So that's what I went ahead and did here. It's very simple. I didn't show it on camera. As you can see, it's suddenly populated with loads of furniture. But I just used the sleek bathroom stuff again, so your Sims can walk over that shower because it's not closed off. So it's a bit of a wet room, I suppose. And then they can access the sink and the toilet just fine, as well as that shower. And then it allows you, I guess, to redecorate that spare room if you wanted to, so you could make it like a guest bedroom instead if you didn't want your Sim to have a kid. But as I mentioned, I ended up decorating it for an infant. Also, my test Sim is that Bjergsen character, I've forgotten her name now, but I just put up that little family portrait that came from the early purchase reward for Life and Death. So that's why she appeared, because she was my test Sim for this particular house. So as far as the game was concerned, she was the household that should be displayed on that frame. But if you moved your own Sims in, that would change to whatever Sims you had. And then you can lock it for certain outfit types or certain poses, which is a lot of fun. It's kind of a shame that it's an early purchase reward. So I am sorry if you don't own that item. You could just switch it out for a different item instead though, if you needed to. I really don't like the early purchase rewards. I think it's just punishing people for not being able to pay for certain things at certain times, and I don't like it. But oh well. Sadly, I don't think there's much we can do about it. But anyway, we are in the last bedroom of the house and just decorating it for, originally I thought maybe a baby, but I ended up just switching it out for an infant instead, so I got rid of the little bassinet in the end. But again, you could just add one in, probably into the master bedroom if you needed a bassinet at any stage, because that room is so big. And this one is very squished. I liked that about it though. I thought it was a lot of fun, and I put in a lot of pastel colours, kind of combining the colours that I've been using throughout the rest of the build still. So a little bit of green, some pink, purples and such. So I just thought it was really cute and vibrant. And I also included the little height chart, which looks like a cow plant, because that felt like a good idea for this kind of a build. I do want to do like a cow plant enthusiast build at some point, because in the botanist career, so that would be like the career that inspires that build, I suppose. But you need to, like, the aspiration makes you look after cow plants and grow cow plants and such, and then you make money through the actual career itself, of course. So I felt like that would be a really fun build to do for the series, so I am going to put up another poll at some stage, hopefully soon, definitely before I go to Japan, I think, so towards the end of May, and just give a few more ideas for other builds that you might want to see. So feel free to check that out and vote on your favorite idea, and that'll be the next build that I do from this series. For now though, I am just going through the ones that I already had on the poll, partly because 3 of them had the same number of votes for a while. Someone has now changed that, but sadly I'd already built this before they voted for the Potion Master build. But the Potion Master build, as I already mentioned, I've done it. It's just, I need to edit it and upload it and such. But now, just before we come to the end of the video, we are just decorating that commercial area, so the actual florist store back garden. I just included a bit of seating here, as well as some more planter pots, and just try to make it look really lush and vibrant, help give your Sims some inspiration about what flowers they might want to buy. But with that, we are coming to the end of the speed build portion of the video, so if you have been enjoying it, be sure to hit that like button, comment on your favourite part of the build down below, and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, make sure to watch out on my channel for that poll that I mentioned I'd put up. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you have a great rest of your day. Enjoy the screenshots, and I'll see you next time. Bye now!